He was a top sniper who had been retired for 4 years, but suddenly received a mission from a mysterious unit and was secretly recalled. The military assigned him to guard a large canyon shrouded in mist year-round. No one knew how many secrets were hidden deep within the canyon. Before his departure, his superiors only asked him 3 questions. Was his physical condition still good enough for combat? Was he single? And if he died, would anyone grieve for him? After answering the questions, Li Wei was anesthetized and put on the plane. When he awoke and removed the anesthetic, someone was already waiting for him. They quickly verified Li Wei's identity and confiscated his watch, passport, and all other identification documents. Then, Li Wei leaped into a no-man's land that wasn't even marked on a map. This was a no-fly zone, and Li Wei still had to walk 38 kilometers north to reach his destination, but for someone with hundreds of lives on his hands, it was an incredibly easy and pleasant task. At 4 o'clock sharp, Li Wei promptly handed over command to the Special Forces soldier codenamed Blue Sword. This soldier, Goth, was delighted to see the new recruit, as he hadn't seen a human being for a full year and was finally able to leave this damned place after his service period ended. After some pleasantries, Goth introduced Li Wei to their outpost, the West Tower Observation Post, which was entirely self-sufficient in solar power, equipped with a backup generator and a rainwater harvesting system, among other things. There was also an east tower on the opposite bank. Goth warned Li Wei to strictly avoid contact with the other side. They were busy with their own things, and Li Wei didn't need to interfere with each other. Li Wei's task was to walk a circle along the edge of the canyon every day and maintain the automatic close-in weapon systems every 600 meters. Every kilometer along the edge was a satellite station with a large ear, a signal blocking station, and the only device capable of establishing contact with the outside world. The task seemed simple, but Li Wei sensed something amiss. So besides preserving this place's secrets, what other mission do I have? Do I need to stop people from leaving the canyon? No, you need to stop us from leaving the canyon. The canyon is the gate to heaven, and we stand at the gate to heaven. 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 We stood at the gates of heaven. The fragments from the detonation of the suspended mine device severed Li Wei's rope. Anxious Lisa rushed to her weapon pack without hesitation, grabbed her weapons and ammunition, slung her parachute over her shoulder, and jumped into the endless abyss. As her descent accelerated, Lisa decisively pulled the parachute. Enveloped in an orange-yellow mist, landing safely was a challenge that tested both quick reflexes and personal experience, but this was no challenge for Lisa, a Special Forces soldier. Just as her body hit the water, the parachute precisely caught on a rock. The downward current made it difficult to move effectively, but Lisa had undergone similar Special Forces training. She successfully removed the parachute's latches by reaching behind her back. Lisa swam downstream with the rushing river. The electric climbing harness in her backpack fell out under the current. Soon, after passing a relatively calm section, she managed to grab a section of tree trunk. Meanwhile, Li Wei, on the other side, hadn't died from the fall, but was hanging upside down from a strange tree. Centipede-like creatures occasionally passed by on the tree, one of them slowly approaching Li Wei, clearly considering him a delicious dinner. Li Wei seemed to sense something and slowly awoke from his unconsciousness. However, the moment he opened his eyes, he saw a horrifying scene. But Li Wei didn't panic. Instead, he instinctively made the most correct move, that is, anyone else would have been in diapers by now. Before he could even breathe a sigh of relief, he realized that his location was extremely strange. The crimson tendrils beneath him, like the slime on a potato slab, firmly fixed him in place, unable to move an inch. Li Wei realized his situation was dire and used all his strength to try to struggle free, but then new tendrils began to grow around him. Something resembling bone spurs needed to be wrapped around it. Just then, Lisa Tetu arrived and swiftly rescued Levi. Levi was very grateful to Lisa for risking her life to jump into the canyon to save her, but Lisa simply said calmly, "Please help me." After calming themselves down, they decided to go to the eastern canyon to find the broken rope and then use the electric climbing hook to climb back. However, they hadn't taken more than a few steps when an unusually surging fog made them wary. It seemed like some enormous object was moving rapidly within the fog. Suddenly, a monster rushed out, breaking up their defensive line. Knowing their strength, they didn't care and intended to kill them one by one. It seemed these hollow beings possessed extremely high intelligence, but they had underestimated Levi and Lisa's individual combat abilities. Initially, because they didn't understand the hollow beings' fighting style, the two were at a disadvantage. Lisa was being chased, and her cavalry pounced on her from behind. On the other side, Li Wei's situation wasn't much better, but as the battle progressed, he gradually figured out the hollow men's heads. After expending some energy, they quickly turned the tide and killed them. The two reunited, and while Li Wei was cleaning up the battlefield, he discovered something terrifying. These hollow cavalrymen were wearing 1942nd military uniforms. These monsters were very likely the 2,400 missing cavalrymen Goth had mentioned. They should have died, so why were their clothes here? At this moment, Lisa also encountered a problem. While checking her backpack, she discovered that her electric climbing harness was missing. It was truly a case of misfortune piling on top of misfortune. Without the electric climbing harness, they had no way to climb back up the steep cliff, but both of them were determined and wouldn't easily give up their chance to survive. They decided to follow the water downstream, believing they would find something. Gradually, they entered the depths of the canyon. The surrounding orange-yellow mist instantly turned pale pink, as if some chemical component had been added to the air. The trees lost their original appearance, becoming like a combination of human skulls and withered branches, exuding a sinister and terrifying aura. Soon, they arrived at a dilapidated complex of buildings. The landscape here looked like it had been damaged by an earthquake, full of grooves and scars. From time to time, eerie sounds emanated from the surroundings. To avoid danger, they tacitly ran into a church. It was covered in dust and cobwebs, and many mummified human corpses sat on the benches. After examining them, Li Wei made a startling conclusion. These intact mummies had all voluntarily committed suicide by poisoning. This was puzzling. What could be more terrifying than death that would make these people choose to die rather than live? The answer was revealed in the next second. This place was actually a group of human-faced skeletons. The spiders' territory was largely harmless individually, but their sheer numbers were astonishing. Each one was incredibly agile and nimble, specifically targeting people's faces clearly there to annoy them. Lisa was firing her rifle incessantly from under the stool, but thankfully Levi pulled her up in time. The two resumed their coordinated attack. Just as they were methodically killing the spiders, 3 hollow men suddenly burst in from outside. The scene instantly descended into chaos. The skull-headed spiders, friend and foe alike, pounced on anything that could move, while the hollow men only had eyes for Lisa and Levi, determined to kill them both. Lisa seized the slightest opportunity and instantly used a grenade to create an escape route. Surprisingly, the space inside the anus was unusually complex and vast. Opening another door revealed a laboratory inside. Although it was dilapidated, it was still faintly recognizable. Back then, this place was managed very well. Li Wei found a videotape on the table, wondering what it recorded. Lisa also discovered a backup generator fueled by a diaphragm in the corner. Turning it on, the generator surprisingly started working again. It had to be said that the most primitive machines were actually more durable and suitable for long-term preservation. Li Wei eagerly played the videotape, and its contents unveiled the mystery of this canyon. It turned out that this was a base for developing devastating biological and chemical missiles after World War II. However, a sudden earthquake severely damaged the facilities, and the biological weapons were leaked. This caused the genes of different organisms in the canyon to begin merging and mutating with humans. Although people with strong immune systems wouldn't be infected, once infected, mutations would appear within 5 days. To ensure that this toxin wouldn't leak out of the canyon, after watching the video, Li Wei, who had only been there for a few hours, believed they shouldn't be infected, especially since the two Special Forces soldiers naturally had extraordinary immunity. He then discovered a very advanced computer in the room, clearly not from that era. The information on the computer completely overturned their understanding. It turned out that after the canyon's biochemical leak, the experiments hadn't stopped. Instead, they were being punished by a large genetic organization called Black Fox. They were using the research results of their predecessors to create super soldiers. This seemed to be the biggest secret of the entire canyon. At the same time, the two realized they weren't working for the military but had become mercenaries for the Black Fox organization. Li Wei then opened a folder called Stray Dog, which contained information that if the canyon was discovered by the outside world, it would automatically initiate a self-destruct program and the radiation safety distance for the missile self-destruct. Plan was for, upon seeing this information from 2 kilometers away, Levi and Lisa had no choice but to flee for their lives. They followed the missile silo upwards, passing through a bizarre area that resembled neither humans nor plants, clearly a product of a biological weapon leak. The two cautiously traversed the area. Due to the extremely narrow space, Lisa accidentally stepped on something, instantly activating the creatures on either side. Seeing this, Levi rushed back to help, but these creatures were not only incredibly resilient but also extremely sticky, infuriating Lisa. She initially intended to let them go, but in a fit of anger, she still launched a bull bomb. Under the intense heat, the creatures quickly perished. When they reached a house, they discovered several jeeps inside. These older jeeps possessed powerful footrests and electric climbing harnesses. After a simple modification and the installation of a backup battery, the two sped towards the cliff where the rope had broken. Soon, they spotted the broken rope on a tree branch. Without hesitation, Levi began tying the rope to the jeeps while Lisa kept watch with her rifle. The jeep's movements along the way were considerable, inevitably attracting a swarm of hollow men in pursuit. Lisa had limited ammunition when she jumped down and quickly ran out. Levi took over, providing cover. For Lisa, with the accelerator floored, the jeep slowly climbed the cliff, soon emerging from the orange fog. But then, more hollow figures climbed up the ropes and cliff face. In the blink of an eye, a hollow figure with fingernails 40 meters long grabbed Levi's arm. Lisa's sword strike instantly ignited her fury, and she delivered a beautiful sidekick, sending the figure flying back into the abyss. But the hollow figures behind were relentless. Having finally seized an opportunity, how could they let such a chance slip away so easily? Without guns and ammunition, Levi and Lisa could only fight back using tools from the jeep. Being specially trained, they were quite adept at dealing with these somewhat intelligent hollow men, but their numbers grew rapidly. Overwhelmed, Levi was quickly overwhelmed. He nearly fell into the abyss. However, this sparked an idea in him. He used the tools to puncture the jeep's gasoline can, pulling it open. The explosion injured Levi's thigh, but he was not seriously injured. After finding a foothold, Lisa, without hesitation, chopped down. The rope quickly brought the two back to the ground. After this incident, Lisa and Levi's relationship became even stronger. They decided to completely destroy this mysterious canyon that shouldn't exist. Without hesitation, they quickly devised their plans. Levi returned to his western observation post. They intended to completely destroy the Big Ear satellite jamming station thus making the entire canyon known to the outside world. It seemed that the higher-ups had already noticed their fall into the canyon. Levi shouted for Lisa to evacuate quickly. The two fled desperately, one to the east and the other to the west. When the higher-ups arrived at Levi's post, they found he wasn't there. They realized Levi was trying to escape, so the higher-ups dispatched 4 quadcopter drones to pursue him. However, the two had anticipated this and deliberately retreated towards dense forests. Every tree could slow down the drone's movement. After a fierce battle, Levi successfully destroyed the pursuing drones, while Lisa was also lucky enough to have the 2 drones engage in a mutual destruction. After everything settled down, Levi found his sniping position, and Lisa did the same. As planned, Lisa detonated the western Big Ear jamming station. Li Wei was in charge of the eastern jammer. At the agreed-upon time, both sides simultaneously pulled the triggers. The explosion of the first jammer would ignite the engines they had pre-positioned, thus cascading down all the satellite jamming devices. Upon seeing this, the higher-ups were utterly shocked. The canyon had been exposed, the wandering battle plan was fully activated, and the higher-ups had only 3 minutes to escape. With a deafening roar, a massive mushroom cloud slowly rose from the depths of the canyon, mercilessly destroying everything within a 4.2-kilometer radius. Lisa had already evacuated to a safe distance, but Li Wei, due to a leg injury, was still a bit too far off. The powerful shockwave threw her into the river. 5 days later, Lisa, confirming she wasn't infected, left the cave. She was going to meet him at their agreed-upon location. However, Lisa waited there for a month without seeing Li Wei. But she didn't leave. Instead, she found a temporary job and settled down. One day, as before, she sensed a familiar gaze behind her. Turning around, she finally saw the Li Wei she had longed for. Afterward, the two lived a blissful and shameless life.